So, Steve, you know what they say. Don't worry about the thing. So come on, Steve.
Oh
We got a
yes.
Bob Marley review of One Love. So
Yeah.
Steve, hit it. You actually recently saw this biopic of the reggae legend named Bob Marley.
Hmm.
For those of you who have never heard of Bob Marley, an icon, brought reggae music to America. Pretty much became almost a fashion icon. Who would have known that his brand he would have known and took his image and that would have helped his brand later on.
Jeez.
Just kidding, everybody. But for
uh,
real though, Bob Marley, an icon in music, an icon in I'm just gonna say an icon in marijuana as well. For
Yep.
those,
whoa,
Yeah,
yeah.
man. That's the
it
fucking
is.
legend. The legend of
He's a
Yeah.
legend.
The legend. Yeah.
He's a
I
legend.
think
absolute
this is
But
absolute.
Steve,
all the
hit
things
us
that
with this review.
yeah, all the things that you guys are saying is kind of what the biopic is about. Again, I believe it starts off with Ziggy Marley, who had a very, very heavy hand in its creation, stating that this movie would not have been created if all children or active living relatives of Bob Marley were not involved in some way and making sure that they didn't screw this up. So,
Produced by Rita Marley and Ziggy Marley.
yeah.
Also directed by Ronaldo Marcus Green.
Hmm. Yeah, and this is an interesting one. It takes place literally right as he's in the middle of blowing up, so it's the late 70s, 76, I believe, and he is it kind of just goes through some of the like not the tumultuous parts of his life, but just moments of his life. It's a very standard biopic. It's the part where he is making reggae music in Jamaica at the time, and he doesn't want to leave because it's so important for the Jamaican people and the political struggle at the time that was happening. That obviously he gets shot. That's an unknown thing. Like him and a bunch of his combatants get shot, and some of them get killed, and he obviously survives. And that's when he leaves and goes to America to flee uh, that, but also he starts to blow up. That's where he starts getting his name recognition, and he has a producer that's like, "Hey, listen, your music is great, but more people need to hear it because you're kind of just stagnant in this like corner of America." And it's kind of just shows his growth of like him being an icon, but not really embracing it, kind of just staying humble, staying who he is. Also, kind of having troubles with his father because he doesn't know who his father is. He's mixed. His mom is Jamaican. His father is, I believe, some Australian guy. He never had a relationship with him. So, like the most of the movie is him kind of like struggling with like an absentee father while being like a father to, I believe, like 12 kids, 11 or 12 kids, right? Some
I was gonna say, did they
crazy.
bring that up about all his illegitimate children?
So, like, that's the thing. They bring it up in like a 2-second flashback with him like touching a girl, and then all of a sudden the wife is mad, and you're like,
Because
what
he
happened?
loves women,
He
apparently.
loved women,
He loved the ladies.
The
and the
latest.
lady, yeah, and they loved him, but you didn't really get to see any of it, and you kind of just see like bits and pieces. You see the creation of Exodus, the famous album, the biggest album they had, I believe, right? um, and how they were like, you can't name it Exodus, and they, that's nothing. It's not going to do well, and then obviously it blows up, and then they get to where he has his foot cancer, which slowly killing him, and he could have gotten treatment. They kind of talked about that. He denied it because he just wanted to continue going on the road, and he's like, look, if I'm going to die from this, I'm going to die from it. It's not a big deal. Obviously he does succumb and he passes away, but he survived through the legacy of his children, and it kind of just talks about his relationship with his wife, and how he was at first like a man of the people, but then she can slowly see him turn when he started getting a lot of praise from his Exodus album. And she was like, you need to be more humble, and then you're already cheating on me, like you want to go down the road of these people. And then it kind of snaps him back into
So
reality.
there was no mention of the CIA putting like a pin in his shoe and stabbing him with poison.
Yeah, see, like that's what I mean. Like they completely sidestep any of the conspiracy theories of Bob Marley, and they played this as straight as possible. And I was really surprised. I was like, wow, they focused so much on his relationship with his basically his deadbeat father, than like all of the stuff that really was what people wanted to know. They do the musical numbers, famous musical numbers, and that was kind of the movie. They really kind of just talk about him as a person. He dies young, and then the impact that he has on not just music, but then the creation of like, oh hey, this is an uprising movement that would happen in the 60s for a lot of people, in 70s in America at least. I kind of felt like, man, they did a lot that was okay, but they didn't do enough. And it was like, what was the point of the film? And I felt like maybe like like Ziggy Marley and Rita Marley, maybe like the Marleys were like, we don't want any of this conspiracy crap in this film. Like just play it straight, tell his story. And they had a hand in it, which is good. They wanted to keep it honest, but it also was like, it left a lot to be desired, because they would just switch around. Like, okay, it's 76 now, 1976. Now it's like 1984. It's like, what happened? Why was there such a dip? And then like things would happen, and they would just cut back to him when he's a kid, cut back to his relationship with his father. You don't even really get to see his mom at all, like ever. So score though, I would give it probably a solid 7, just because it was good. It was acted well. I felt like the actresses and actors, Lashana Lynch, who was the female James Bond in that last James Bond film, she was the wife. Kingsley being Adair, he's Bob Marley, did well. They really focused more so on like the accents from everybody. They're like, everybody's gonna have to have a hard ass Jamaican accent, and I felt like it was cool, but it left a little much to be desired. So a solid 7. It's worth a watch.
That's what everyone said so far. Some of the critics actually gave it 3 stars. It gets a 43% so far on Rotten Tomatoes. I heard from what I'm reading is that it's an interesting biopic that captivates his, as you said, him in his prime, but fails to really make anything unique of a movie about Bob Marley.
Yeah, it's like the stuff you guys already know about, so it's kind of cool, but it's like we want to see some stuff we don't know.
See, that's why I always harken back to like Ray. Ray was such a good biopic. Same thing with like, you know, Elvis and some of the ones that we've rated. They're good biopics because they let you see things that, I didn't know that. You know, you didn't know that.
Yeah.
Right.
But the movies like Walk the Line that come out, I'm just, I knew all that.
Right.
I knew all that about Johnny Cash, and it's like, you didn't talk about any of his achievements, how he, was he beat the Beatles in their prime as a solo artist compared to them as a band. They never talked about how he was able to switch genres, which is so hard to do. They never talked about his achievements. They only talked about his drugs and his love life with his wife. That's the only thing you ever really heard about it.
And that's the same here. They did the same thing where it's like you just talk about the love life, and he loved his wife, but again, like you said, Robert, like he loved the ladies and he loved the music, and they would just show a bunch of that, and people were like, you got to do this, you got to do that, and Bob Marley just being kind of chill and smoking through the movie, and that was kind of it. And then you cut to another scene. So there was just a lot of moments, but there wasn't a lot of like anything happening in the film.
Interesting.